So I'm out in the forest today, a beautiful pine forest here in southern Ontario, and I came here with the Mycology Society to forage mushrooms, but it's been a wet but cold spring and didn't find a lot of fresh mushrooms. So a couple more weeks still till the spring bonanza happens, but it's been a wonderful time to forest bathe. So I want to talk a little bit about forest bathing, how you can do it in any forest, anywhere in the world. And just some basic practices to help you get started if you're new to it. Because in a sense, you've probably done it your whole life if you love forests, you love being in nature. But there's different ways we can kind of have our attention guided so we notice certain things. So there's a principle in flow psychology that when you have very clear goals for what you're doing, you can bring your attention to it, because flow always follows focus. So when you choose to pay attention to the forest and one sensory channel, for example, at a time, you can really connect with this felt presence. So what I recommend doing in the forest is choosing different senses and bringing your full attention to those senses for a while. So it could be what you're seeing, what you're smelling, what you're feeling in your body, what you're hearing. It can be your proprioception, which is your sense of your body in space. It could be depth perception, where you're looking off into the distance on the horizon as far as you can see. It's all these different senses we can explore. And when you choose each sense and you say, hey, I'm going to spend 5 or 10 minutes just paying attention to that sense. And when my mind wanders, I'm going to bring it back. That's meditation. That's forest bathing. Shinrin Yoku. Bathing the atmosphere of the forest through your feelings, through your senses, rather than through this analytical mind. It's like tree, grass, dead log, mushroom, all these things. It's just kind of, and this kind of analytical mind is so overactivated in the modern world, it's unbelievable. So when we actually notice it, we notice these thoughts, and we bring ourselves back to being anchored in our bodies and the sense we're choosing. It's pretty powerful, a way of quieting the mind, and then you really feel the forest. You sense it in a so much deeper level. And to me, that's really what forest bathing is all about. So let's just go through the senses one by one. Sight. So set aside some time and just pay attention to what you see around you. You know, how tall the trees are, the short ones in the shade of the larger ones, the branches, how they fall off when they don't have sunlight, the texture of the bark, the colors, the needles, the leaves, the fractal structure of the trees, how they grow in these branching patterns that are self-similar. Just noticing what you're seeing can be very powerful in really connecting with that sense. And another thing to add to that is really this feeling it in your body, really noticing how beauty affects you, how symmetry affects you, how, a living organism, a superorganism like a forest affects you, and feeling that. So not thinking about it, not analyzing it. And that's really the shift with meditation, is shifting from this dominant, egoic mind that's always analyzing and, coming up with plans to succeed in the future and analyzing the past and ruminating over failures and what people said and all that stuff, right? And just being present. So noticing that mind that's so dominant today, it overthinks everything, but then bringing your awareness to what you're seeing. Full awareness. And it will wander. Attention wanders. But you bring it back. And it's powerful medicine. Maybe the most powerful medicine in terms of its lifelong ability to heal you and relax you and get you out of your thoughts when you're living in fear and anxiety and worry and all these things that happen in life, right? We have ups and downs. And if we can just bring our attention to our body and our felt experience, what we're seeing around us, it can make a huge difference. And it could be smelling, right? This pine forest right now smells like the Pinus strobus in the air. It's a healing aerosol. Actually can lower your blood pressure. The pine tree, eastern pine, is a very significant tree. There's all these different varieties of pine around here. And all these different kinds of trees, you can smell them. and enjoy it. Enjoy the fragrances. So that's one thing, bring your full attention to that for 10 minutes. And then it can be what you're hearing. Listen to the birds. Listen with wonder, with awe. Just feel it in your body as you're listening. And some people find adding the breath as well. As the animating force of the body, the breath is a good anchor. It's anchor in life, the most important part of our life. Because while food and water is very important, and sunlight, breath, if you're not breathing, you'll notice very fast it'd be very unpleasant in how you feel, right? Breathing is so important. 5 minutes without breathing and your life is gone, right? So you have to have the breath. So the breath is this fundamental animistic force that connects us with our environment, that all the religions have studied, use in prayer and meditation and different practices, group rituals. So feeling the breath come in, go out, can help kind of ground you in the feeling in your body, in this kind of felt presence in your body, which is your immediate experience. Whereas the mind is always layering what you know from the past onto the present, and thinking about the future when things will be better maybe or whatever. But by doing that, it disenchants the moment. And that's the modern world, is this disenchantment. Like the Enlightenment was this enlightenment of the irrational intellect in this war with the church. And you can choose the church, you can choose the scientists on the reasoning side, atheism, super theism, and they both have their own problems, right? But somewhere in the middle, there's a balance of the two. And I find meditation really helps the mind balance in those different ways of cognitizing the world, like different ways of cognition. Seeing, the world around you as God, the world around you as this scientific simulation or machine or whatever, right? But to balance the two together, I think is a very powerful way to meditate in the forest. And I think meditation is like the missing ingredient in a lot of education today. Because if you can't control your mind, you're a slave to what other people tell you. All this stuff you think is really just other people have told you all this stuff. And you've identified yourself with it because you've been told to by school, your family, your community, all these things. And a lot of it's good. But you want to let it go when you want to be present and just feel the moment. And it's this super powerful thing. So what you're hearing, what you're smelling, what you're seeing, another thing I like to do is kind of rewilding my proprioception sense. So just like closing my eyes and just feeling the forest around me as I move and trying to sense objects and stuff around me with my eyes closed. It's actually a sense you can develop. It's interesting. But you gotta kind of use your imagination and trust yourself to kind of start to develop this feeling of the world around you. But proprioception is a really interesting way when you're jumping and you're climbing, really paying full attention to like your body in space, how you're moving, your animal-like movements, I think is very powerful. Also depth perception. I think today, we're losing our depth perception because we're staring at these screens. And when you really pay attention on the horizon, the birds way in the distance, the sun setting, the light, geographical features that attract the eye. I think it really helps us really restore this depth perception that we don't use much anymore. So these kind of different ways you can forest bathe, meditate in the forest. Forests can heal us. Being present can heal us. Meditation is medicine. Maybe the best natural medicine. Because with a quiet mind, this world is awesome. It's full of awe and wonder. But when the mind's always thinking, it's all you have to think about is thoughts. And there's this disenchantment of I've seen it all before. Every forest is so many trees. I've seen a million trees in my life, And when you meditate, you let go of that mind, that part of your mind that, is always analyzing, trying to survive, and just be present. We need that healing, especially in a technological world. So, spend some time every week, I recommend, in the forest bathing, setting aside time where you bring your full attention, ideally 10 minutes a sense. And when your attention wanders, bring it back. and this can trigger states of immersion, what we call flow states. Nature's amazing for that because there's this natural energy in nature that connects us.